Hi everyone. Uh, I'm Sahid and I'm going to be the moderator for today. I welcome all of you for our webinar that's the Enterprise Hiring Paradox, Speed versus Quality at Scale. We are coming to you live via LinkedIn and Zoho webinar. So if you're joining us, please drop a quick hello in the comments section along with where you're tuning in from and your current role. We'll love to know who's with us today. To begin, the enterprise recruitment landscape has reached a critical inflection point in 2025. While most organizations have mastered basic volume hiring, the real challenge lies in managing the complexity that comes with enterprise scale operations. We are talking about multi-layered approval process, stakeholder management across business units and geographies, compliance variation that differ across various countries, regions, and maintaining consistent candidate experiences through it all. Today, we'll explore why enterprise recruitment requires a fundamentally different approach, one that addresses not just scale, but the organizational dynamics that make enterprise hiring uniquely challenging. So, we are thrilled to be joined by three distinguished experts who are navigating this exact challenge in different contexts. First, we have Samira Dash, Head of Human Resources at Next Education India. Samira is a seasonal HR leader with proven expertise in workforce planning, deployment, and strategic talent management. At Next Education, a SaaS-based edtech, she plays a pivotal role in scaling HR operations across 18,000 schools and shaping a talent ecosystem that supports 12 million plus learners. Next, we have Keerthi Krishna Swamy, with 17 plus years of experience driving digital transformation and process efficiencies across industries like oil and gas, petrochemicals, SaaS, fintech, and healthcare. He currently spearheads IT projects at Dr. Agarwal's group of eye hospitals and volunteers as AVP of technology at PMI Kerala chapter. uh, Completing our panel, Jyothis could not join today because he was not feeling well. We have Deepu, who's a co-founder at Zappyhire. Deepu has extensive experience in AI and ML and product management, having led roles at Infosys, Bosch, and Oracle. Recognized as a young leader by Economic Times in 2012, he serves as a mentor at Kerala Knowledge Economy Mission and speaks at global conferences. So I welcome all three of you. And throughout our session today, we will welcome all of your questions and comments. Please drop them in the Q&A section and we'll address as many as possible during our Q&A. So before we dive in, right, let's get a pulse from the audience. I'll launch a poll, which is what's your biggest enterprise hiring challenge? So I have launched it. So I request everyone to please vote and maybe that will help our conversation for today. This is only applicable for those that have registered for the webinar and are here on Zoho webinar. Those on LinkedIn, feel free to comment and we'll ensure those comment is heard. We have started getting votes, uh, maintaining quality while scaling, managing stakeholder expectations across departments. That's okay. We'll wait for a couple of seconds, then I'll close it. So those who have yet to uh, engage, please do. Okay. Uh, I- I'll publish the result. So 55% of you has said maintaining quality while scaling is the biggest challenge, followed by managing stakeholder expectations. Right. Some of you have said candidate experience, consistency. So let's start by addressing the fundamental question that's misunderstood. When talking about enterprise recruitment, most people immediately think, volume hiring is the challenge. But those of in the challenges know it's far more complex than that. So Samira, you're managing talent operations across 18,000 plus schools, supporting 12 million plus learners. That's not just scale, that's complexity is a massive level. So how does enterprise recruitment differ from regular hiring beyond just the numbers?
Thanks, Sahid, for a beautiful, introduction. So, delving into the question, enterprise hiring, how does it differ First, yes, the volume is there. So let's not talk about the volume, but the first thing that comes to my mind is a long-term, strategic business goal. Now, many organizations are, they would define their long-term business goals, what's their planning, succession planning, their global expansion needs. But what happens, when we saw COVID, right? A lot of our plans get stalled just because of some changing dynamism in the market. So that's one challenge we face, right? So that's one thing. How does it differ from the regular ones? Regular ones are the ones that you um, uh, do when the recruitments that you do as a part of your regular hiring. Somebody left, backfill of the positions. But enterprise hiring is more complex because you have to deal with a lot of regulations. You have to deal with a lot of because it's in scale, the technology and the infrastructure that is involved in any kind of enterprise hiring. Then there is also a lot of employer branding that goes in, because that is one very critical factor in enterprise hiring. Without that employer branding, actually you don't get to see results. So that is the core and crux of your enterprise hiring, and it is very different from the the limited ones, which okay, you do it through some reference, something like that goes on, the standalone hirings. So that is again a critical part in enterprise hiring. And then again, people have mentioned about the stakeholders expectation. It is very complex. You have the involvement of so many different teams globally. It has to be a very synergized effort to have people onboarded through enterprise hiring. So that's, and anything that is not any of these is your regular hiring, that in a very small scale you can do just by talking to people, getting references. Those are the small scale hirings.
It's very interesting that you touch upon enterprise, branding and employer branding. But that plays a huge role when people are joining, because they do not join a particular, industry. They join a particular organization that they want to work with. So yeah, as you said, the complexity of the ecosystem is, what we're talking about. There's lots of things that are similar to normal hiring, but when talking about enterprise, these things play a key role, which I don't think anyone trains you so far unless until you work for it. So that's a really good point. And on that note, Deepu, I want to ask you, from a technology and process perspective, what internal complexities make enterprise hiring unique compared to what startups and mid-sized companies does?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Sahid. So, so the question is between, do you want to hire fast or do you want to hire right? That was one point in time. That was the question, which means this kind of, in many cases, these are complementary to each other. Like it doesn't go together. Either you hire fast or you hire right. But then the challenge is, if you prioritize, speed versus quality, then the problem that typically happens is, the cultural fit will have an issue, or it could be the attrition, which is an issue. So these kind of things will come up. Now, if you prioritize quality, then what happens is that you will have a lot of missed opportunities, because you're going slow, you're introducing a lot of heaviness in the processes. The candidates, if it's a really good fitting candidate, they don't stay for more than 15 to 18 days in the market. They get a job. So if you introduce all the process and the heavy weight into it, then naturally this will not work. Now if you look at it, hiring fast and hiring right in a slow pace has its own advantage and its own disadvantage, pros and cons on both sides, are the two sides of the coin. So now the next option is that, okay, let me make it proper. You find a synergy between these two things. And then you feel that, okay, for a 50 hires per year, everything is working so smooth. The moment you change from 50 hire per year to say 1,000 hire per year, or 800, 750 hires per year, then you're talking about enterprise hiring. Whatever was working for a 50 hire per year will break at that number. it doesn't work. It doesn't hold good at all. I mean, that's what we have seen from our customers who are hiring in big numbers. All the processes that you claim which work in a smaller number, just there. So that is where I believe that, as Samira mentioned, the employer branding is important, because you need to have the candidates coming in with a passion and say, I want to work for that organization. Because they should fight for it. Like Google, if you see, people are willing to even prepare for 6 months, wait to get a proper referral for a couple of months, then go through a 2 to 3 months of process, their hiring committee, they're willing to put in that 1 year of effort to get into Google, right? Now, there's a reason. There's a brand which plays a role. And the branding could be as simple as, we recently went to Google office, cafeteria. You start from the cafeteria, start from the door that you open, the quality that you feel, touch and feel, what you see, what you listen, the way the receptionist deals with you. It's all plays a big role, that even being an entrepreneur, you feel like, okay, why should I quit and join Google? So that was the kind of feel that I got when I visited their office like 2 weeks back. So that is the employer brand. I think Samira got it spot on. That employer branding is extremely important. Now, to answer your question, what are the subtle differences or the clear-cut differences when you're talking about enterprise hiring is, you need to have all those subtle, personal things in place. You need to give a personal attention to the candidate, but at scale, how do you do it? Kind of the way I look at things is, recruitment is kind of a sales job nowadays. You need to meet the numbers. You're answerable to your hiring managers, to the management. I have 500 positions to close. It's a number game. Nobody will say that I need a 500 good candidates. There's a 500 candidates, and good is an implicit understanding. It is understood. You give us 500, we are expecting it to be good, but nobody gives that time to find that good thing. That is when, automation and all those things has to play a key role, because you can't dilute the quality, you can't dilute the processes, but still you need speed. Still you need unbiased decision. Still you need automation, right? So the subtleties of enterprise hiring is, you need all these things, but you need to have it at a higher number. All the small nuances, but scalable, right? So that's what I would put it. Like, the main thing is that the applicants are higher, the stakeholders are higher in number, the queries from the candidates are higher in number. When all these things go on a higher number, on the other hand, lack of response from internal stakeholders will be high, approvals will be delayed, interview feedback will be delayed, no-show by the interviewers will be increasing. It's every stakeholder, you have to expect whatever worst can happen will happen when it comes to higher numbers. Because you can't afford to have those personal connection, maintain the same, accuracy in all deliverables, right? It doesn't happen like that. So that is what I look at. The major problems of the enterprise hiring would depend on whatever works on a smaller number doesn't work on a higher number. So there has to be automation. So those are the things which I think we will go on while we talk more. On an opening note, this is what I would say, Sahid.
I think that you make a really good point. I think you also touch upon the point of maintaining that candidate experience throughout, even if you're hiring 200 people or 2,000 people. Each and everyone should receive a feedback, or have that particular experience. Or maybe everyone can visit Google, but at least they get that same opportunity to feel that way. So we'll discuss that later. But on that note, Keerthi, you have been implementing technology solutions across various industries. You have worked across oil and gas, now you're working in healthcare. So there are organizational hierarchies, that also impact recruitment strategy. So what's your take on that? And do you think, is that a good thing? Not I would say the bad thing, but how does that impact the hiring?
See, fundamentally, it is a very complex, situation. Now, why is this being called as a complex situation? Is that now, TA function, cut across all the organization in fulfilling the demands of the organization, particularly. Now, as Deepu was, trying to call out, saying that, is it a quality hire that you are looking out, or is it a fast hire that we are looking out? So eventually, we should be somewhere striking a balance between both of this in order to fulfill that demand, particularly. Now, we may have a lot of workflows or steps in establishing control, compliance, and etc. Now, beyond that, each of the functions are supposed to be looked at like a separate plan altogether. It's a closed plan. And you would absolutely see that, many of the other clan leaders has got push and pull between the departments particularly. Now, besides that, we may also have to find the right candidate, because we will have to look at their, the emotional quotient. How are they going to be connecting with the people? How could be their lateral thinking particularly, or how their cultural fit and etc. So anything, if you're going to try to look at the candidates, particularly from an hierarchy wise, there are several other values, particularly that we may have to consider in terms of the hiring, and this is going to be a little challenging. And it is always good as well that we may have to absolutely call out. Why? Because again, I will have to contemplate the statement given by Deepu. People who just come in, look at the the physical appearance of the company, and they may not feel really great and will leave away. And it will be similarly like that. If you're going to onboard a candidate and who does not sustain for quite some time, and before which if they're going to be leaving, as a recruiter or from a TA function, we may feel a little bad in terms of not hiring the right candidate, in fact. So this clearly indicates that the hierarchies within the organization plays a vital role, and how deep are they into particularly.
I think you make a good point. I think maintaining the brand standard plus involving a lot of uh, clans. It has to be a clan, not different sections, departments working in their own. So I think that's a good segue. So I have another poll that I'm going to ask people. So what is the internal factor that complicates their hiring, enterprise hiring? So I'll wait for everyone to answer. So essentially, the question is, what internal factor most complicates your hiring, enterprise hiring? It starts with too many decision makers. We see that there are recruitment managers, there are talent managers, there are hiring managers, and the CXOs. Then there are people that are part of the decision, and then there's lengthy approval process. It takes sometimes a couple of weeks to get people in, to just get the first interview done, then the second interview done, then the third interview done. So it can be a challenge. Then there are system integrating challenges. So there are lots of tools available, but there's a mismatch in one. Uh, there are only few platforms. I had tipped to Zappyhire for one of those that does not have that particular challenge. Otherwise, integration is a big problem. You collect one feedback on a doc, and then you share it to someone, that someone might see it, might not see it when he goes on a call. It can be a challenge. And there's budget allocation across departments, and essentially what you said at the last, maintaining brand standards. So how do we ensure that our brand is being revered across those people joining us? So those who are on Zoom, Zoho webinar, I would recommend all of you to please vote. This will aid our discussion that we go in the next segment. So 43% have already answered. We're waiting for a couple of more. So far, I think one of those most internal factor that we are seeing is too many decision makers and budget allocation across departments. So, Deepu, Samira, anything you want to comment on this particular thing?
Well, too many decision makers, I am not too certain what does that mean, because I mean, when we are hiring, there has to be decision makers that are, mentioned, that who would finally take the call. Yeah, there could be that confusion, and I'm sure as HR we do have that we get too many inputs about a certain candidate, and you get a little confused that okay, should we hire, should we not hire? That could be the thing. But I don't see too many decision makers is a problem, but I do see that on certain candidates, too many different kind of feedback which are antagonistic to each other. That makes your decision. I mean, suppose for example you go to a college and you find very mixed kind of people from a single college. You don't know whether you should go ahead or you should just let the number of hiring over there. Too many number of people are there. So that could be one thing that I am sensing over here. Budget allocation across departments, yes. Again, as I said, in my very, when I began this discussion, I said that we have these long-term goals, but what happens is in between the budget gets, here and there, that becomes definitely a problem, and hiring gets onto a hold. But enterprise hiring, one good thing about it is this, that you create the talent pool. So you are midway and budget gets stunted or something happens. It's not that you have to let go of those people. They're still there in your talent pool, and whenever the budget is freed up or you are going to hire, you have the ready-made talent available to again consider from. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, very interesting. So just a follow-up question. So how often does it happen that, let's say X person, let's say me, I applied for a job and I could not get in for X amount of reasons, but do you go back to me when you have those reasons clarified? How often does that play a crucial role?
It happens. I think, in HR, we do that. For us, our recruitment team, they're actually handpicking, even in those enterprise hiring also, they're handpicking because we don't want to let go of anybody for a reason that is not known.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure all recruiters do it very sincerely. They go back. It's not that, they just want to let go of people.
I'll ask you again, any tips on how to do that for, let's say, other people? How do you do it personally? Like if you had to, do you use anything like maybe notes or something like that?
For people
Yeah.
who have been, earmarked as
Yeah.
some kind of, we generally follow. I mean, I'm sure if you are a good recruiter, you would know your people by name. I have seen people who recruit well. They know the people who are the shining stars. They want them to be in the team. So yeah, you keep your notes, you keep your, we do use Zappyhire. So we have our notes over there. We do not reject people over there. We go back and check who are the ones that we would like to go back to. What are the clarifications required? So we do that. And it helps because, you need those numbers. You cannot let go of people just for silly reason. You just close those loops and go fast and hire them.
That's great. I think that's definitely a quality of being a super recruiter, knowing who you want to for the company's growth. Otherwise, Zappyhire can aid you being a super recruiter with the notes and everything.
Absolutely.
So, moving on to the next. So, Keerthi, given your experience in integrating or technological implementation of tools, so when there are new tools in the things that are to be considered, how do you successfully integrate new recruitment technology with existing enterprise systems? Because enterprise systems are usually a bit complex, but without creating a disruption or a massive change management.
One key thing what we will be looking at is that what is our tool landscape we currently have from an enterprise standpoint. Now, we may choose, or the organization may tend to choose, different tools, particularly on the fly, without having a broader, vision in terms of looking at the IT inventory or application inventory that they wanted to absolutely have. Now, that what then happens is there are so many applications that you may find it within your kitty and will be doing very limited function, but those applications will be very extensive, will have a large kind of functionalities which are available. I'm all talking about the SaaS product, or sometimes we may have in-house products as well. It could be a blend of both of it, in fact. Now in such conditions it will be very, very difficult for us to make a decision or break a decision in terms of what kind of application should be part of our inventory, what should be absolutely get ridden, and etc. Now this is a very, very extensive exercise that we may have to go through. Now, even if we are going to decide something in terms of make or break in terms of an application from our kitty or from our inventory list, we will have to see, we'll have to go by the process, and we will also have to look at the kind of integration that we really wanted to have. So most of it, what it stands is the quantum of volume that we are targeting. What is the amount of human intervention that is applied? When I say that human intervention, there are switching between application 1 to application 2, copying the similar data from application 1 to 2 and from 2 to 3 and etc. So these are all, unproductive and inefficient, actions that the person may be absolutely doing. So in such conditions, what we have to do is we'll have to clearly evaluate, find out where the thread is, how is that we may have to minimize, what are the different type of applications that we wanted to hold it, that we wanted to leave it, and etc. So that's how we will have to come up with a cross-platform integration. And we have to, I mean, there is definitely going to be an automation possibilities that we are trying to bring it through those channels, and that's how we will have to fundamentally establish. This is more proven logic that I'm trying to talk about, because that's how we start to sketch from the basics in terms of understanding what is the landscape, how the processes are going to be, where are the people and who are the people, and how the data is going to flow, how is that we're going to control, and etc. So there are several parameters that absolutely comes in play. Just cutting short, that's how that you may have to fundamentally ramp up with in terms of cross-platform integration.
Okay, I think that's, yeah. I think you mentioned lots of couple of things, and I would want Deepu to comment. So Deepu, when integration plays a bigger role. So when you're building the, so how important is to be able to have a good integration with all, but also ensuring that how Keerthi mentioned, repetition of task is not there; it's eliminated.
Okay, so just to continue from where Keerthi stopped, right? The elementary question is, why are we adopting a new technology? Why are we bringing a new software product? So there are two ways to look at it. One, say for example, even if it is an accounting piece or a recruitment or HRMS, whatever it be, there is a sole reason why we are bringing in that particular piece, that is solve that particular pain point or a business area. Like, so I'm sure that Samira and Keerthi will agree to the point that if I am adopting a technology or a platform, it is practically to solve some of the pain points of our team and our stakeholders eventually. Now, what we have seen and learned in the past 6 to 7 years of our startup journey is the easiest way to sell a platform is to convince the buyer about the pain point and how it will help solve their appraisal KPI, to be very simple. If our buyer has a KPI related to their performance appraisal, and if the tool is actually contributing directly to that performance appraisal KPI, that is a easy sell. You don't have to convince anything beyond that, right? For example, if as a recruiter, my expectation is to increase the quality of hire in a measurable fashion, empirically, my KPI is to reduce the time to hire, then all that I'll be looking for in a tool is whether these things are checked or not. So this is the basic philosophy. Now, when we are buying a software, this is a core philosophy, but it has to fit into that enterprise architecture, as Keerthi was mentioning. So when you look at the enterprise architecture landscape of a particular organization, there will be starting from sales or marketing, or it will drill down to your human resource management, manpower acquisition, recruitment, performance appraisal, leave management, and the whole lot of this entire fabric is there on top. And you're bringing in with your little product to fit inside that. Now, the most important thing that because I played this, enterprise architecture or technology product engineering kind of roles in my previous organizations before starting Zappyhire. One thing which we always used to look was whether this data can talk to, or systems can talk to each other, whether the data is flowing downstream, and whether my upstream and downstream systems can assimilate and consume and provide this information down. Now, if, say for example, Zappyhire as a platform or any recruitment platform, let's not say Zappyhire, any recruitment platform, it lies right behind or below the HRMS. It lies adjacent to the manpower acquisition tool. Now, the moment somebody puts in a maternity leave, or somebody goes on a long leave, or somebody resigns, that is an input to the recruitment platform. That should be an automatic trigger to the recruitment platform. Somebody has, the system recognizes that a particular position, the AI team or the engineering team or the marketing team, the appraisal system, when you look at it, there are certain low performers. Now, what could potentially happen? The good thing is that they perform better in the next cycle. Another possible thing is that there might be, these people might go out, or it could be a, end of the day, it will be like an open position. Now, the question is, should the recruitment platform sit idle, even though it has access to this data, wait for the recruiter to come and say that, hey, I know you were aware that this person might leave, but still, I know you didn't do anything. Now you go and find a candidate. Rather than that, ideally, the system should have proactively started looking for a candidate in the available repository, engage with them, get the latest resume, get their intention, and keep the profile ready. By the time Samira comes and says that, you know what, this person resigned, the system should be able to say, yeah, I knew it coming. These are the 5 candidates I've kept ready for you. No, this is what, when I look at integration, that is how it should work. It should just seamlessly accept and give data up and down. That is, to me, what integration, like keeping aside all the integration, terms and terminologies outside. Integration is about fitting that jigsaw puzzle at the right spot so that it all looks like one good enterprise architecture to an enterprise architect.
So I think that's essentially becoming a dashboard for the daily life, or like, quarterly when they log in, they know, okay, things that are coming up, things that I want to do proactively. So I think that's a great insight, Deepu, and that helps. So I'll just segue a little bit to Keerthi. Keerthi, so just offshooting of this conversation, right? So because you are part of vendor selection at the earlier stages, right? So how do you approach vendor selection and technology evaluation for the enterprises? What should
No.
organization look beyond just features?
No, it's a very, very tough question. The problem is that once you're wedded with, I'm just going to the final stage of, when a vendor has been selected and we are onboarding a vendor, and we have started to work with them, and that's the time we realize that the vendor is not really doing good, and it's all gone because there's so much of effort. That's not a person's effort, in fact. It's collective team effort that has absolutely gone behind in terms of pulling a vendor and onboarding and getting this into the organization. Again, back to our inventory list that I'm talking about. And now what happens is we may tolerate for some time, we may rearrange our own processes to adjust with the kind of tool that we have selected, where we may have to battle with the vendor in order to see that if there are going to be any kind of gaps which are in between technical depths, we have to correct them, and etc., etc. So there's a lot of traction that will go between the vendor and the customer particularly. Now, to avoid all of these, how can there be a smooth transition that we can absolutely come up with? Which is currently what we are as an organization we are currently doing. So we are looking at each steps which are involved, staged for a recruitment process. Now I'm talking about recruitment process particularly. Now starting from as Deepu said, from where are we going to get all the requests coming from? So the mandates, which is absolutely the source of it. We have a different application, like how Deepu said that HRMS is going to be one of our source, where we have all the backfills, which absolutely generates, moving which, about the clearance, there should be, minimum workflow that is required, data absolutely flowing to, look for sourcing the candidates and selection of candidates. Scheduling the candidates. There will be multiple rounds of interview, multi-level interviews that will absolutely happen. Now, after which, so much of movement of, candidate between multiple stages. We release the offer, pre-onboarding checks, onboarding the candidate, and there are a lengthy of parameters that are absolutely available. So we will dissect each of it, and to see that if these are the minimum expectations that we expect from an application, and we see that are these going to be a must-have, and if these are absolutely available as a standard within the product. So one thing is the unknown factor as a customer is that my process that is too lengthy, and there are different people who are going to be using the application. Now, the other side of the unknown factor is we have never been used the the vendor's application ever. We're not at all a product expert, so we have to connect two different unknowns to a balanced place where in which we agree that yes, of course, this is going to be one of our choice of application that we can take up. Now, further which, when you scrutinize this, you will come to a situation where there are products that does not have that as the standard function, which goes for a customization. Now, again, when it goes to customization, the SaaS platform builders or products, who own, will have some resistance, particularly because they may not accept all of those processes that they wanted to have it as part of the platform. So, are these part of their roadmap? Now, how soon are we going to expect the release? How much of gap that we are absolutely looking at in terms of the application which has got these gaps available? So that's how we buy and take in terms of those gaps between the customer and the vendor who's going to help us, giving the application. Now, all of it leads to a scoring model. Again, these are more descriptive in nature. Again, we have to translate them into a scoring model. And from a scoring model, that's how we slice and dice in terms of who would be our perfect vendor that we will be looking to onboard for the organization. So it's a little lengthy process, but again, it doesn't stop there. We also try to, work with the vendor, give us some prime time for us to dry run our processes, giving it to our end users, because the end users who are fundamentally the recruiters who are, going to be using the application in length and breadth widely, because they are the bottom line of the pyramid. And slowly the next line will have a little bit of tracking mechanism, how are they doing, and etc. And the one above is more looking at the metrics and the numbers that the application is going to give on. So conducting a dry run with the application is just to help and make the users feel psychologically is the application more connecting with them with the kind of work that they are doing on a day-to-day basis. So there are series of stages that are absolutely involved. One is knowing our own internal processes, slice and dice of those processes, understand are these part of minimum requirement expectation from the application, coming to a scoring model, getting onto a dry run, collecting feedback from the users, put together collectively gives you some good picture in terms of who our vendor is going to be and where are we going to as we choose this vendor, how effectively that we can absolutely implement them into the organization. So these stands as the stages.
I think those checklists and processes would be great. So maybe, Keerthi, if you have something that, maybe you can share at a later date, we'd love to share to all of the attendees over here. Maybe a checklist of sorts, what to look for, what to evaluate. I mean, that could help benefit. Not promising, but if Keerthi is allowed to share. But so I'll come to you, Samira. But before that, I just want to put in that you can put in your questions in the Q&A if you have any for Deepu, Samira, and Keerthi, and also launch a poll. So, Samira, these things play a bigger role, the features and everything. I want to understand just from you in a brief, what does compliance and security play, like software security play a role in the hiring process?
That's a very good question. When we are scaling, even if we are not scaling, I think the security compliance is very, very important. It is something that, it will enable that safe deployment of your whatever you want to do with your system, like, when you are hiring, your own processes, your data, your solutions, your technology. So, these security compliances, it should support the kind of, tool you are using. It also, helps you to scale. When we talk about, the security and compliances, if they are there in place, then the speed is attained faster. You are able to do things without thinking twice. Those checks are already there in place in your automated system. So in your fast-paced, it allows the fast-paced, innovation within these secure boundaries. So these security compliance, they support the system, so they are important. And when we are doing this enterprise hiring, across geographies, across regions, it needs to be there in place, because what happens is, every culture, every boundary, every geography will have its own challenge, will have its own kind of expectation. So until and unless we are compliant, we will not be able to scale. Each and every case will come with a kind of unique problem, and we will have to resolve each and every such situation. So in terms of when we are talking about enterprise recruitment, we will need to have these security and compliances in place. It has to be integrated in the system. It has to do its own check and own balance, so that the speed is acquired, the speed that we want to hire, it is acquired seamlessly.
I think you bring up couple of things that compliance is there. There are also regional challenges. So while you're speaking, I ran a poll, right? So how to ensure candidate experience, and it says standard process and think training. It is still open if people want to join, but Sangeeta, staying in that. So while you're doing regional hiring across multiple regions, and across not just India but otherwise also, what are the nuances that one has to look for that enables that not just compliance but other processes as well? And how do you adapt to processes, different processes, maybe let's say while compliance, while cultural, or how do you maintain consistency? Tool is there, but other than that, what do you do?
Okay, so yeah, when we hire from different geographies or different regions, or different requirements also will have, like we hire for our legal team, the requirement will be a little different. Our sales team will have a different requirement. So standardization of the requirement, not in terms of you hire everybody and you standardize that process. You don't do that, but how we do it is, we have to be very taking cognizance of the positions. When we are hiring, the job description is a must, right? And in that, what is required cannot be compromised on, should be there. Those are the things that the recruiter has to ask. And now you would see that many of the tools or the platforms, they will ask you very direct questions, and those direct questions are the eliminators. Now, you have a nice CV, but you would want to give a chance. You might want to, take a leeway and say, okay, fine, these are my qualifiers, but this person doesn't qualify, but the resume looks good. You can still keep it aside and have a look at it later on. So that is one. The nuances in different places is like, different, like we hire in Kochi, we hire in Hyderabad. The kind of people that we get, the kind of questions that we get are again very different. So, we have to be very, very careful, sensitive to the kind of people that we are getting, right? We have to tweak our requirements accordingly. It cannot be that, okay, we are hiring in Kochi, but we want people, that are, again, to be very honest, the labor compliances in Kerala is very stringent. So it is in Bengal. But rest of the country, it doesn't give two hoots. So, you have to be so careful about, hiring putting all those things in place when you are going to hire and when you are going to hire at a scale. So you have to segregate the kind of positions that you are hiring, the location, and the demand. What is it that you are going to cater to? So once you have done that, you will have the standardization process. Once the standardization process is in place, then you can just replicate the way you have hired. So that is how we follow, at least here in Next.
Okay, that's very interesting. And standardizing process is there, maintaining the broader topic is human touch. So Deepu, I'll come to you. There has to be a balance between standardization and localization is definitely there. But from a technology perspective, how do you maintain the human touch in automated processes? Is an Can technology enhance the human element of recruitment, or how does it work? What do you think?
Good question. Yeah. Okay. So basically, when we started Zappyhire, there was the first product that we launched at that time was automated video interview tool. So that was the first product that we built, and that came from our own experience. Our own experience as in both Jyothis and I, we used to work together 20 years back, and we were a part of the same company for quite some time. And when we were talking about interviews, there are these interview drives, recruitment drives that we used to work for Infosys back then. And imagine we have around 20 plus interviews we had to do on one day for the recruitment drive. And now, when these 20 candidates come in, we know that they are taken one day off, they're taken time, they waited at the reception, they're here for the drive. The first or the second minute itself, you will know the candidate is not good. You have to be courteous, you have to be gentle. You have to still spend 20 to 25, at least 15 to 20 minutes talking to them and understand, okay, is there something else that we need to know about that candidate? Majority, 90% of the case, our initial first 1 minute, you call it bias or whatever, but that intuition is correct. But still you end up spending time. That's when we thought, okay, let's build something which can help solve that pain point. And we built this automated video interview back in 2018. That is pre-LLM era, pre-ChatGPT era. So we spent a lot of time, months together. We were working on that and created the first version of the product, which will do the initial screening of candidate. But still, the philosophy that we wanted to believe and we still believe in is HR processes always should have human at the core. How much of a technology you add, it's all at the fore. It's on the surrounding or the periphery. But at the core, it should be human. There should be human philosophy. There should be communication at the core. There should be empathy. You should understand what are they looking for. Because even if it's a big company or a small company, when you're hiring a particular resource, what we still follow in our organization is also the company has a philosophy, a vision, a value system. The person who is joining also should be aligned to that. The growth perspective of that candidate. Even we have employees or team members in our organization who joined us saying that I want to start up. So what we have done is that we are now trying to put, there have been people in the front end team whom we have put in the marketing team so that they can get some awareness of the marketing. And eventually, maybe in a year or two, I'm sure that this person will quit and go and start up, which is a good thing for us. And I would say that the effectiveness of a startup hiring is determined by the number of startups that its employees have started down the line. I would put it like that. So now in all these things, the reason why we are able to understand that this is the passion of that team member or the person who is joining is by talking to them. And I don't think how much of automation you try to do, it will be, it will suffice or fill in this particular use case. You need to know, you need to understand about your candidates. Now, having kept that on one side, now going to your first question, Sahid, the volume. When you are dealing in volume, how are you going to do this personal touch with all the candidates? Coming to my previous example, when I'm conducting 20 to 25 interviews a single day, if I spend 25 minutes, 20 to 25 on a candidate whom I'm sure that I'll reject, where am I going to get that extra time or quality time to spend with those candidates who might really join? Now put all these things together. That is where we believe that we need to have the automation so that the system can help you identify that right set of candidates for whom your recruiters can spend quality time. So practically, we're not saying that how much ever we try to do, we're not saying that, okay, this platform is gonna replace the entire recruiters. I think this notion is always there. It's not just with recruiters, it's with developers also. We have developers in our organization. When we go for a tea, they ask that, so how many months do you think we will be having a job? Or will AI take over the entire thing? So this doubt is always there, which is actually not in place, I would say. The work will change, the way we work will change, but the work is not gonna get over. There'll be a lot of different ways. See, like now, imagine everyone is coming up with their own automation tools. Everyone is coming up with intelligence in their platform, embedded in the platform, which means the decision making has to be real quick, especially with talent acquisition. A company who is using all these AI tools, they will reach, they have 1,000 or 500 applicants, they'll reach the top 10 in no time. If you are going the traditional way, you won't be able to tap into that top 10. They are gone, right? So that's where you need to have technology on one side so that you can identify that set of 10 people who are really good and spend quality time with them, maybe on the second day itself. The first day, finish all the automated things, all the initial screening, getting the documents, getting the data, getting their preferences, have all these things in front of you, and then start talking to them. So to answer your question, Sahid, the human touch has to be there. The human touch has to be, I would say, the requirement is even more as compared to how it was earlier, because now you will have a lot of people in the market. And the job count will be less, and the nature of job will be different. You want skilled people to take up this job, and that skilling process is yet to start, not just in organization, even in schools, if you look at it, right? The curriculum, the pedagogical interventions, the way teachers teach, everything will have to change now. The students think that they know more than teachers. It's a fact. Similarly, the candidates will start thinking, I know more than my interviewer. So that is where your system should change, that now is the time when the recruiter should spend more time with eligible candidates, with the matching candidate. Now you need to adopt all that is required in the market to reach out to that core number ASAP so that you can tap into your pool of candidates. So that's my take, Sahid.
That's very interesting. So Deepu, if I have to, if you allow me to paraphrase, but you use tools to automated tools to eliminate unnecessary human connection, but talk to those that are part of your recruitment pool. So I think that automation helps in that, in improving the quality of human connection. I think we'll just take a couple of more questions, but I invite everyone in the live, please put in your questions in the Q&A. We'll start wrapping up soon. Before that, I have a last poll that I want to run, which is, which future trend will most impact your enterprise recruitment? So while we are here, I do, Keerthi, Deepu touched upon AI adoption, right? So when you are approaching AI adoption at enterprise level, so do you foresee, like, not risk, etc., but like what risk parameters or what framework do you use in evaluating AI solution? Because many are, bootstrapped, or many are not that at that level where enterprise can directly onboard them. So
The question is to whom?
Keerthi.
Sorry,
So
I
the
lost
question
you.
is, yeah, Deepu mentioned about AI adoption, right? So when an enterprise is looking at, inculcating AI tools in their platform, are there a couple of risks that they look into? Because most of those AI tools not necessarily are, security free or for a while. So what are the parameters that you look at while adopting, let's say, AI tools in general?
I hope the question is to me. Is that right? I lost you in between, and that's the reason why I'm reassured.
Keerthi, I can probably summarize that. So the question was to you, Sahid, I hope I'm audible, right?
Yeah, you are audible. I heard the question.
Okay, yeah,
You
that's
can,
you.
you
Yeah.
can even answer it right away. Yeah. See, as Deepu was absolutely saying, the kind of AI that we are, part of our adoption life cycle is only at the peripheral stage or more of a satellite stage. So it is not to the core particularly that AI cannot understand some of the context. Is it doing it right or wrong? Okay, so these kind of judgments are mostly, not to that extent where, the AI can support a human particularly. as of now. Okay, I'm not talking about the future, but now, yes, that's how the condition is going to be. Now, what happens, because one of the question that you had also posted to Deepu, and Deepu was also saying that, the adoption of the AI, where the human absolutely requires in order to check sometimes the confidence level of what it is absolutely interpreted. Okay, now let's look at, just trying to give you a broad scenario. Now, if you're going to be looking at the freshers out from the college, okay, now up to manager, when they're going to be constructing their resumes will be too short. One will not be to the point. Now, three is that the kind of verbatim or the sentences that they are making will not be up to dot, and etc. Now, if you're going to screen this through an AI, now what happens is always the score is going to be little wavery. It'll be more oscillating, and the confidence level will be definitely lower. Right now, in this case, the human will have to certainly involve. It is only trying to give you a ranking, okay, which is that one thing where, as a recruiter, what happens is they will be trying to look at the resume and they may have to start summarizing it. So, what is that they are trying to summarize? How many years of experience does this candidate got? What are the level of skill sets that they are into? What are the different companies that they have worked with? And what are the different titles that they were into? Etc. etc. These are some of the common elements that are being picked or being read by humans, and on the fly they take a judgment. Now, this is something which the AI is going to give as a summary to the recruiter, which is absolutely a big advantage, because now, as a human, I do not want to do this mundane activity any further, because now that's going to come as part of my tooltip. Right? So the kind of decisions that I can absolutely take from that summary is going to be much faster than looking at the resume, reading one by one. Most of the data points are these, right? 1, 2, 3. So those kind of checkpoints can absolutely eliminate, and the time to hire will be faster. That I would say. Now, for a position, particularly if a recruiter has been touch base with candidates of let's say 50. Now, that sample rate can go up to 100. Okay, because they will be very, very choosy and selective in terms of reaching out to a candidate. Now, this kind of mentality can absolutely change. So this itself changes the tactics of absolutely looking at the hiring plan. Also, strategy also changes, because we may also have to rework on our strategy and to see that how much that we can accommodate, and etc. Now, the second scenario, what I did not absolutely call out is, now from manager and above, from senior manager and above to the C-level employees, now you can see that their resumes are on dot, because you can see that their kind of structured resumes are too good. When it is given through an AI lens, now it's going to give you a very, very high and better scoring. So that kind of judgment that it is going to come up with is going to be too strong. So there are areas where we would require some sort of improvements. There are some areas which does not require any kind of improvements as well. So the confidence level is more related to a human, as how we are going to be reading a resume, and then we say judge that. Yes, you, whatever that you have sensed it is absolutely right. We say yes, it's thumbs up. We give a thumbs up, right? Yes, you sensed it right. Or if you say that no, you didn't sense it right, then we're going to give you a thumbs down. And it will be relative questions that we may have to support to ask, where have I made a mistake? Now, that's exactly where the logical layers of the AI, which needs to be fine-tuned so that the confidence level also increases and we have more strong reasons in terms of our AI adoption. Now, looking at a bare minimum, okay, I'm also trying to add you another, giving you another answer is that now, if the adoption of AI as in a raw form, it'll give you 60 to 70% of accuracy. Now, moving or bridging higher than from 70 to 90% is going to be the most challenging thing, because it requires so much of human intervention in order to get it more corrected. And that too, for each of the enterprise, this flavor is going to get changed. So I'll cut short here. So that's going to be my answer.
I think that's very interesting. And I think with that, we come close to a discussion. We did have a question, and that question, I think Deepu has answered. I'll just read it for everyone. How can smaller teams with larger enterprises begin the recruitment transformation journey without waiting for organization-wide initiatives. So what Deepu had answered was start small with high impact roles and or urgent hires. Use small utilities, automated interviews, AI screening, etc. Standardize the interview process and feedback. Improve candidate experience with faster communication. Track and showcase ROI to influence broader adoption within the organization. I think that's a really good answer. And before we come close, I would want to thank Samira, Keerthi, and Deepu for your time today. I think your insights and your experiences have been really wonderful. I think most of them here would really benefit to be part of the conversation. Uh, I would like all of you to share a final piece of thought or word of advice for our audience as they navigate, enterprise recruitment transformation. We'll start with you, Samira.
So I can just say that, we are at the crux, of innovation now, wherein a lot is being talked about, AI and, AI replacing recruiters and stuff. I don't think that's true. I think that we should adopt technology, and we should actually, now is the time to actually hit it hard and take recruitment to the next level with the help of technology.
I think many of you will want to do that. So, Kirti.
No, see, it is definitely a must. The reason is because we're going to be improving the productivity. We're also going to improve the efficiency. Now, these are two key metrics that I will have to absolutely touch upon. As a transformation advisor, that's one of the key things that I may have to consume. So much of rework that we constantly do it, which are absolutely unnecessary, does not add any kind of value to our process at all. So heights of inefficiencies that absolutely happen, the kind of errors that we make. There are so many automation that we can do, template-based communication to a candidate or to your cross-functional team or to your internal team are more enough if these are some of the quick data points that are going to be picked up from from the application and is going to send it in a single touch. It's too good. As a recruiter, if I'm going to start my day today, I clearly wanted to understand how many number of interviews that I have scheduled today, how many has reassured that they are going to be joining today to have my scheduled interview participating. If any one of the participant who has got some kind of discomfort, joining the session, through WhatsApp, they can absolutely communicate and the reschedule absolutely happens. Now, rescheduling alone consumes the large portion of our recruiters' time, which is clearly a non-value added activity that they have been doing. It's more administrative. Just giving an example, it's mostly a tri-party. It is who the interviewer is with the candidate. The recruiter will have to check with the interviewer what is going to be your date and time, and that has to be cross-verified or confirmed with the candidate, and will have to send out an invitation. It looks to be too simple, right? Now, if this happens in the first stage, okay, if the interviewer is going to give the date and time, he may give only one. Okay. Now, what happens is we check with the candidate may not answer the phone at all. And the time is absolutely lost. Again, the recruiter will have to absolutely keep in mind that they have to think, write it. You have to reach to that candidate who did not confirm. So 20 minutes is absolutely lost. The time is absolutely lost for all these kind of unproductive activities. Now, you can fairly, automate this. If the interviewer has given the time, the candidate will have to choose 1, 2, 3 of their preferences. Automatically, if the one has been already accepted, automatically there will be email schedule will be sent across. Here, the recruiter will be kept informed. The accountable persons are going to be the interviewer and the candidate. Now it becomes seamless operation, which is going to save at least 40% of the time in these kind of unproductive activity. So to me, it is definitely double S, to choose technology, and besides AI as one of an, new and modern technology that we may have to seriously adopt.
Sahid, I think you're on mute, or is it just me who can't?
No, I was on mute. So,
okay.
yeah, you make a lot of good points, Kirti, and I think technology has to help. So Deepu, I'll come to you with final piece of advice, but I'll tweak the question a bit. Right. So while Samira and Keerthi are the adopters and they are the users, right? You are one of those that are creating the industry wide experience for all. So instead of what to expect, I like what should them expect, or what, how Zappyhire is, maybe changing the game altogether. How does one benefit really from Zappyhire? So anything you want to add on that? What?
Yeah, sure. It was like a, you prepare for one answer and then the teacher just changed the question at the last moment. Okay, cool. So I think what to expect would be, as I said earlier, right? We'll be working towards more of compliances. I think you asked this question to Samira earlier, like the importance of compliance, right? Especially now, I'll just take a very simple example. When you're going to buy a pressure cooker, even though you don't understand what ISI means, even though you don't understand what covers, what all things are covered in ISI, you still look for an ISI mark because you need that to be safe and secure. Very similar to that, I think any of those AI systems that we're talking about also will sooner or later, I mean, I think very soon there will be something like an ISO coming up, or the compliances are extremely important because you're going to blindly trust the responses which the AI system is going to give out. So you better trust the systems which are compliant, which are going by the international standards and compliances with the training data that you use. Everything is important. So we at Zappyhire also, we're gonna be like, even though the answers, we might have to work for 6 or 7 months together to get the same answer as a typical, one of those LLMs would give. But still, the difference is that we have the data under our control. We have the response under our control. That explainability is still there. So those are the kind of changes or measures that we at Zappyhire is going to be taking, and that's something which we've been working on. How responsible AI or explainable AI, that is going to be the key going forward. Because AI or technology, as I always say, it's not going to be the game changer because everyone will be accessible to technology. Each one of our competitor will be able to do exactly what I'm doing today. The upper hand will be only for 1 week or 2 weeks. I launch a feature, how much ever I try, in 2 weeks, my competitor will be able to do it. So it's about how we do it. It's about how responsibly, how explainably, how ethically, we do it such that it's not going to impact the customers in, making a decision. So end of the day, and let's not restrict to AI. Like end of the day, I think this recruiters or HR have to embrace technology. Yesterday, I was having a meeting with a UAE-based prospect. That talent acquisition head was saying that they were a little apprehensive about, 1 year back, whether all this technology should be adopted. But now they are in a juncture wherein they don't have an option. The technology has to be adopted. Now, there is a usual notion, thought process that, okay, once these tools like Zapier comes in, will it replace HR professionals? So my point is, it's not this, the AI and technology is not going to replace HR professionals, but HR professional will be replaced by other HR professionals who are embracing technology. That's the way I look at it, because it's all, it's always about it's that these roles are evolving, right? It's evolving, and it's evolving into more strategic in nature, more data driven in nature, and as I said earlier, it has to be more human centric than ever before. And Zappyhire as a platform also, we will be adding more and more features which will make it more human centric, and as I said earlier, not to everyone but to whom that matters. So that is how, as a platform, we would be evolving.
Okay, that's awesome. And I think that's a great close. What do you think, Samira?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what Deepu just said, yes, HR needs to now come out of that groove that, that subjectivity and, okay, this has to be done in this way. No, they have to understand numbers. They have to understand technology. They have to embrace technology for their own good and for the good of the organization and the future of, the entire, all these things, that this mayhem that we are into. So I think until and unless we embrace technology, there's no way that we can progress. And Deepu put it in a very nice manner, I think.
I think Zappyhire for the future of enterprise technology. So with that, we come to close. Thank you sincerely, Samira, Kriti, and Deepu, for your valuable perspectives. And I thank for the audience that are still here, and most of them are here. So for your thoughtful questions and your interaction throughout the day. For those interested in learning more, yeah, you can log into zappyhire.com. And as well as if you have more questions to Samira or Keerthi, we'll link their LinkedIn So if you have, you can reach out to them on LinkedIn, or you can request us we'll send them a follow-up email, and we'll be happy to answer all of your questions. So thank you for joining, and it was a great session. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all. Have a nice evening.
Thank you so much, all of you. Have a great evening. Bye bye.
Bye.